So 4:20 at the latest.
Okay.
Five, four, three. Hey, it's time for episode 3. It's catching the light. You know what's funny? Every time I do this intro, I have to look over at our emblem to make sure I'm getting it right. Catching the light.
I remember after episode 1, I said, I want to try to get in the words "catch the light" in each of our discussions.
Yeah.
That was some light that I didn't catch. Like that. I'm trying to.
I think one of these times I'm saying, "Hey, welcome to lighting the Koch." I'm gonna mangle it. I know I am. I want to say thanks again for driving in. I noticed that you shaved the. The whiskers are gone and you look good. You look clean shaven.
This is the normal me. I was in lazy summer mode, and my wife will be thrilled that it's gone.
Teaching is right around the corner.
Yeah. So now it's gonna be. I'll be clean shaven until next June.
Okay.
Back to looking like Neanderthal.
You look good, man.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So last time we were talking a little bit about working, trying to stay afloat in LA, trying to, you have to pay the bills, you have to make your car payment until your ship comes in. I thought this time we'd talk a little bit about some of the things that we were doing creatively, the outlets in order to...
The whole point of being there.
The whole point of being there. We certainly didn't go all the way out there. We didn't travel 3,000 miles to serve drinks to people.
Or really, and this affects everything. So you didn't go out there to make friends. You didn't go out there to make a good girlfriend that would really...
No, you're not going out there to plant seeds.
So I found a lot of my friendships were flimsy, and a lot of my relationships were flimsy, because we all kind of had that inside thing of like, you're not why I'm really here. You're here to pet. You are a distraction from why I'm really here, actually.
I want to. It's funny. Speaking of flimsy, I want to issue a quick disclaimer.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little bit out of it today, so I just want you to know you might have to kind of keep the show, keep it afloat a little bit today. I want you to be really on your game.
Whew.
I'm a little tired. I don't think you're going to notice that I'm tired. I mean, I'm good at faking it. I think the actor in me is still, I'm there, but it might have to be a little more you than me.
Holy smokes! But you had more artistic. Ray. Sorry.
Go ahead.
You had more artistic expression in LA. You had more auditions. You put on a play at a theater that I got to go and sit down and watch with strangers sitting next to me like that. The dream. You got on tape. You got your face on TV. So I feel like you had quite a bit of, in terms of creativity. Mine, like when people ask me about ABC, I'm always like, yeah, I was so far behind the camera. I was at the network. I mean, the camera people are on the ground shooting stuff. I was rarely there, only for a couple of reality shows that,
But you got to actually bear witness to the sausage making process. I mean, you saw it while it was being made.
I got to travel.
And that's cool.
I got paid to travel.
You got to look behind the curtain.
Yeah. They sent me to Australia once, and we shot and lived there for a couple months, and I mentioned last episode Puerto Rico, and it was neat to feel. I felt important. I remember my plane ticket to Australia was $7,000, and I remember thinking I would have paid them to take me along. This is insane.
Yeah.
I don't need to fly business class. This is crazy. And I remember when I'd never flown like that in business class. It's basically first class. And I remember they came with a menu of food, not just here's your little snack box, but a menu. And I just looked at the guy and said, "Can I have everything? Can I have everything on this menu?" And he said, "Absolutely." And I was like, "I'll take everything." And I remember they gave me a drink menu. I was like, "I'll have one of all these."
Which is such a far cry from the way that we were living. I mean, when you and I were living together, we basically were rationing. We were rationing popsicles.
Oh,
right. I mean, that's how we were living.
I was probably mad at you for taking a box of macaroni and cheese that didn't belong to you. And
right.
Those were 99 cents.
Right. Stouffer's.
Yeah.
That was good.
Oh my God! I remember they brought out like a red wine glass and a white wine glass and a champagne glass and a port glass and a snifter, because I ordered one of every, and I was like, this is incredible. I couldn't believe my luck, and believe me, it was luck. But I went out there thinking I was going to get creative and be in a band and stuff, but you really did it. I mean,
I think that you never feel like in hindsight, I feel like I didn't do anywhere near enough. I mean, I don't know if it's just in my nature to be hard on myself. I don't know if I just don't cut myself a break. But I think no matter what I did, I always felt like I should be doing twice as much. No matter, I mean, for every audition that I got, and every audition, most of the auditions, I never actually finally booked it. I mean, I might have booked one out of 30 or 40 in the span of, 10, 12 years. I always felt like I should have done more. But I think what ended up happening over time is you're so tired of going to work and working the job that you hate. It was a victory just to go home and be able to wake up again the next day and go back to that job. So you start filling that time with stuff like video games and watching a DVD just to relax and unwind.
I mean, we didn't need to see Legends of the Fall for the 7th time.
No, but we did. That was our therapy. And
I remember you told me you had a friend named Gary who wrote a script and recently sold it for like $1 million.
Yeah.
And you told me, correct me if I'm wrong, that while we were out going to the bars or going out to shoot pool or whatever, he was always home in his apartment writing.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that discipline.
No, we didn't. And that's what I mean. I mean, I felt like watching Legends of the Fall, these were the things that I felt like we needed to do to stay sane. But yeah, here's a guy who, I mean, his dedication was, it's just unsurpassed. I didn't know anyone who worked as hard as he did. And lo and behold, look where he is now. So in hindsight, I said to myself, well, what if we'd given it another year? What if we had written a script? What if we'd written 3 scripts? I mean, we certainly could have done it. It just would have required maybe getting home at midnight and instead of having a beer, writing.
Well, I mean, there were a couple times where it just, for me, I put myself out there and just simply failed. Like, through a friend of a friend, I got to audition for this band. He was a singer-songwriter, and he gave me a demo CD. And I thought there was one song in there that was a bona fide hit. I mean, you know me. I've been listening to music, playing music since I was a very little kid. Too early to remember. And I can spot a hit a mile away. I mean, that's my thing. And he had a song that was outstanding, unbelievable. I mean, a radio smash. And I remember the drums were just like boot, bat, boot. He had a drum machine. And so I brought my drum set in at the audition. And again, the drum beat was like boot, bat, boot, bat. And he just said, yeah, just play what's on the CD. I said, fine. He starts playing It's That Great Song. And I go, boot, bat, boot, boot, bat. And he goes, ho, 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 ho. What was that? You did an extra boop, extra note. What was that?
You hit the foot pedal once too many?
Once too many. And I said, well, yeah, I was just kind of making it my own. I added a little. And he goes, yeah, just play what's on the tape. And I was just like, dude, bat. Dude. I was like, this is awful. And he was like, you could tell this kid was going to be like Dave Matthews, not the such and such band. He was going to be Dave Matthews. He was going to be the solo, like Paul Simon, Sting. He was going to have it his way.
Yeah.
And that he said, that he never called me back. That one little exchange never called me back. So there were times that I tried. I wrote a script about high school wrestling, and I actually, because of the lesbian bar, one of the patrons was a manager, a literary manager who purchased scripts and signed people, and she, in exchange for free beer, she took a meeting with me, which was a real coup for me. Like, I thought this was a big break. And I came in, she read my script, I was so proud of it, I thought it was the best thing I'd ever written. And she said, yeah, it's okay, but could you make it football? And I said, no, I'm like, I didn't play football, I don't know anything about football, plus it's a true story. She's like, yeah, how about basketball then? And I was like, again, I know nothing about basketball. There are no wrestling stories like, this really happened. She goes, if you want to make a documentary, get the F out of my office! And I was so startled. So she just crushed me, and I
So
tried.
she's thinking that wrestling it's not universal enough, it's not going to play well. Yeah.
And I said, Karate Kid, karate's not a big high school sport. Right. And she goes, yeah, but that was an amazing story. You have a good story. That was an amazing story. Then I looked at her wall. She had all these scripts on the wall with writing on the spines. That's how they label them in LA. That people write the name of the movie script on the rind of the pages. And I remember looking over and seeing Speed 2 next to The Postman. 2 notorious bombs. Mm-hmm. And I said, like, mine's terrible, but you bought Speed 2. You bought The Postman.
You said that?
Yeah. I was mad. This was stupid. I mean, I admit this was just too arrogant, too stupid for words. But I felt like at that point she already told me no. So now
what do you have to lose?
Now I was just curious.
Give her your 2 cents,
I was just curious as to what those scripts had. And she goes, hey, The Postman, She said when that script hit this town, there was a bidding war. People went, but it was the best script I'd seen in my life. She goes, you know who ruined that? Kevin Costner got carte blanche.
Yeah.
In his
He
contract.
bought the rights to the book.
And he got to change everything.
Yeah.
And he had full rights to do it. He ruined that script. That was the most brilliant script ever. She didn't explain Speed 2, but...
But you know what's funny about Speed 2? I remember Keanu Reeves saying on a talk show, and I don't remember if it was Leno or Letterman, but he was doing some whistle-stop tour for some movie that he was promoting maybe a year or two after Speed 2, and he was being asked, why didn't you do the sequel to Speed? And even he said, and this was very politically incorrect for anyone in Hollywood, you don't typically throw your fellow artists under the bus.
Right.
He himself said, did you read that script?
Wow.
Yeah, which was kind of shocking. I mean, you wouldn't hear something like that. You know, typically on the talk shows, it's all very civil and cordial and kind of, you know, just on the surface. But
it was hard to hear, like, have the audition experience I had with bands, and have that script experience, and then feel so energized and motivated to spend my free time doing either one of those things.
Right.
It's
such an uphill battle. I mean, the auditions. I mean, for someone like me, my auditions were so few and far between. There might have been a time where maybe I had 2 in a month.
Remind me, didn't you go to like an acting class, and then if you impressed the teacher, they would get you on a show?
So my first big audition was for the show Jag.
Which was a huge show.
Which was a big show at the time.
Yeah.
And the woman who taught my acting class was the casting director for the show. So what she would do, and this was the cachet of her show, this was how she got you into her class.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of young guys would come in, they'd shave their hair off, they'd do the crew cut, they'd wear the tight white t-shirts so that they would look like sailors.
Okay.
And then if you took the class long enough and if you did a serviceable job, she'd bring you in. And when I first got to LA, I met a couple guys, Brad and Shaw. They'd been taking the class for a little while. They said, you got to get into this class. She's been calling guys in. I'm like, okay, great. I'm not shaving my hair off. I'm not cutting my hair, but I wear the shirt. I wouldn't do that. So I was probably in that class for maybe 3-4 months. And then I think I had a breakthrough. I remember I had a class one night where it's sort of the material mirrored the subject matter of the show. Sailors, generals, you're getting your marching orders, you're going off to war, something like that.
And you had a moment. You had a strong moment.
I felt like I had a moment. And I remember after class, she had flattered me with something. She said, "You're really good tonight, really good." So I think I might have gotten a call a week or so later. Went in, and this is my big first audition. This is, I'm going in front of Don Belisario and the NBC elite.
Wow.
So, and I wasn't really prepared for this. I mean, up until now, I think I'd auditioned for a couple of industrials and small commercials, whatever. We walk in and it's 2 people and a camera. They're putting you on tape.
Yeah.
I walked into this room over at NBC, and I mean, it was like the imperial. I mean, this long table, and I mean, it was like walking to the Supreme Court. I mean, all the justices are up there, and my mind went. I mean, I turned into jello. My mind went blank. I couldn't remember my lines, and Melissa, my teacher, she's up there. So my performance is going to reflect on her ability to cast. So it's not just my butt, it's hers.
In a way, yeah.
So that kind of compounds my anxiety. And I'll never forget this. My line had something to do with, I was like going to explain to the judge in the show that I had been out on the deck of the ship at it was military time. It was like 0700. And at that time, I saw this young naval cadet, and he was on the deck of the ship, or the bow, or the stern, or where the hell it was. And then I went inside, and I came back out, and he wasn't there. Now, the whole premise of the show was that he had fallen over, maybe someone had pushed him, maybe there was a murder. So I'm like one of the only witnesses. So my line was something like, "Yes, sir, I went back out on the deck at 07:10, and I remember distinctly that the clouds had started to fall on the horizon, so I know that it was dusk, and so my visibility was pretty well, and I walked to the northeast corner of the blah, 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 and then I looked, and young Cadet Johnson was no longer there." I forgot all that. Instead, literally this is happening, and all those words just, like balloons were floating out of my brain, and I couldn't remember any of it. I only remembered the premise of the episode, which was that they'd been thrown over or murdered. So I said, "I went out there, and he's gone." And I remember looking over at Melissa, and she could see that I was out of words. And she goes, "Okay, thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks, Ray. Good job." I felt like such a jerk. I felt like such a jerk.
No.
And I got called back in again about a year later, but there was this long hiatus in between because I think she felt like I wasn't ready for prime time.
Wow. I mean, when I met you, you were most comfortable performing, but it was in front of people you knew
Yeah.
or I don't, because I mean, I was a stranger at one point. You were okay, but then again, there's no pressure, really.
Right.
We're in college. There's no important.
And I'm operating the camera too, so it's
Oh,
all
how
I'm
did
in
you-
charge of everything.
Then how did you go from that to putting on your own play where you remembered the whole thing in front of total strangers
Yeah.
and you're gonna get a write up in the paper? What happened between everything flying out of your head and everything staying in your
Well,
head?
I'll tell you, part of it is because I'm a bit of a hypochondriac. Anyone that who knows me will tell you, you know.
Sure.
I've had eyelid cancer 14 times.
Eyelids.
That's in my left eye.
Right.
I'm in remission.
I know.
I ended up going to see
You're
somebody.
a brave fighter. Yeah.
Thanks. I went to a neurologist in LA, and I remember she said, "There's nothing wrong with you. You know, we took an MRI of your brain. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just nervous. You know, you probably want so badly to succeed that you just need to calm down." So she said, I could prescribe for you something. Now I don't want to take any pills. And she
Right.
said, you know what? Do a shot of vodka before your next audition. Just try it. Don't drink and drive, but get there. Do a shot of vodka
Wow.
before your audition. I did that a few times, and it helped. Like it
Wow.
took the edge off.
I think I remember, that's funny, I remember reading an interview with Noel Gallagher of Oasis who said before Wembley he went out and had a
Yeah.
shot. He said to steady the ship, he said.
That's exactly how it felt.
Wow.
I felt like I was at sea during that first audition.
The audition process, and I never got the acting bug, but it sounded so cool. I remember a bartender, no, sorry, a barmaid, a waitress at the bar, had her acting class. The teacher was Larry from Three's Company.
I took that class.
You did?
I took that class.
Maybe you were with
Richard
her.
Klein.
Yeah.
Brad and I took that class.
Did you really?
That was one of our,
She through that class somehow she got an audition and a spot on Coyote Ugly the movie, and it was for a girl, right?
That's
you
son
don't
of
have
a-
to beach.
that's son of a
You don't have
bitch.
to beach someone. It was.
Babe, can you give me Richard Klein's phone number? Can you? He's probably on Google. Look him up.
And I remember just thinking, man, I kind of want what you guys have, but I'm not infected yet. I have the music and the writing bug. I don't have the acting, but I wanted it.
Yeah.
In fact, one time when there was an actor strike and you were in the strike because you had a SAG card.
That's how I
you
got in. That's how I got in.
I saw an ad in the paper they were saying, come one, come all, open audition for commercials. Preferably with no experience. And I didn't know.
Non-union.
Right, I didn't know. And you had gone back home temporarily. And I showed up and I was in one of those rooms you talked about with two people and a camera. And I just sat there. They talked to me like, hey, tell us about yourself. And how old are you?
Yeah.
And can you work right away? All right, great. We'll give you a call. And that was it.
It's amazing that, I mean, to get your SAG card, and for people that don't understand, if you need to be in the union to work on a union film, and everything that you've ever seen on television of anything that's legitimate, whether it's in the movies or it's on television, it's union. It's all union actors, it's union directors, it's union writers, everything is union. If you're not in the union, then all you can do is non-union stuff. So what was happening when they were striking, people that were claiming to have walked off of sets when they found out that it was non-union on principle, those people were sort of ushered right into the union. You still had to pay the dues, but typically up until then, the only way to get your SAG card was to work and schmooze with an assistant director and get on a job, and then they have to want you back so badly for continuity.
But that was the weird thing. It was like, you don't get points on your SAG card unless you work, but you don't work
It's such
unless
a
you have
catch-22.
SAG
It's such a
card.
catch-22.
So you had to find a backdoor entrance.
Yep.
And your friend found that backdoor entrance from being an extra who they needed. They were reshooting a scene he was an extra in.
He did something unthinkable because he had no leverage, but
He
basically
used it nicely.
he used his poker face.
Which friend was that?
Brad.
Okay.
Brad used his poker face, and he said, well, it was for the movie Can't Hardly Wait, and he was
Great
an extra,
movie.
and he was a prominent extra. I mean, in every scene in that
In
party,
that party
you
scene,
see
yeah.
Brad. I mean, he looks like Groucho Marx. I mean, he's got the curly the hair, and or Harpo. He looked like Harpo
Okay.
Marx.
Yeah.
And because he was so prominent, they needed him back, and he said, well, I got to work.
He
I
was
gotta-
waiting tables, man.
I got to work at the restaurant.
I can make $100 that night, right?
Right. This is how I make my living right now.
Yeah.
It's not how I'd rather make my living as an actor. So if you want me back, you got to make it worth my while. All right, we'll give you another voucher. You got to get 3.
And then
Did
you're in
the
the
same
union.
thing again, and he got his 3rd. And I remember he called me on the phone, and he said, just got my 3rd voucher. And hung up. And I was like, oh, you. Ugh.
What a play!
He made it seem so easy.
Such
Yeah.
a play. That
Yeah.
I mean, brilliant. That's just great.
I mean, it never happens. And for me,
You got yours picketing or something?
yeah. So the way it turned out, how I got in was, again, I found out that people were being given their SAG cards because on principle they were walking off jobs.
And holding stakes.
And then you got to go around and you got to picket for something like 5 weeks. You got to do like 80 hours, I think, and then that's what you do. And then you got to pay your dues. But in terms of them letting you into that program, the picketing program, you had to take a stand against the non-union work that was going on out there. So I was part of this meeting. I found out through the grapevine that there was like this secret meeting underneath the city where everyone's going to go. It was like, and I went to this meeting and he said, so did anybody else walk off the set of anything? And I was like,
what did you say you walked off?
McDonald's apparently was using non-union
and you
actors,
said that.
And I said it.
How did you know to say that?
I don't know. I don't
just
remember.
heard it from someone.
I must have heard it, and by God, they did. They let me in. It was me and another guy.
Did they give you 3 vouchers for striking for 80
Yep.
hours?
Yes.
Or 1 voucher for 80
3. I was in.
Wow.
I was in after the 80 hours.
And does that ever expire? Your union card, your union?
No, you got to pay the dues. But even if you don't pay the dues at the end of the year, you're still technically in.
Right now, you're in.
I'm a union actor. Yeah.
That's amazing.
God has done wonders for me, hasn't
it? Yeah, but still, I mean, like, you can't do anything without that card. I can't go and act. I don't know. Like, if you told me, gun to my head, go get a union card, how would I do it? There's no strike right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not like Brad. I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah. But you know what? You were working hard. When you first got out there, you went down to the promenade, and you did the whole thing where you would rent a space down in this promenade, and you would open up your guitar case, and people would throw money into it, and you would do the Christopher Cross songs.
It sounds like a beggar, which kind of is.
We're all beggars.
Well, I mean,
that's what we are.
Look at me, love me.
Yeah.
My buddy was doing it. He was playing really sweet, sentimental songs, Fleetwood Mac, Landslide, Christopher Cross, Sailing. He was playing all these things, and he sounded like an angel, and he opened up his guitar case, and he'd play these beautiful Simon & Garfunkel stuff, and every now and then he'd throw in an original. Couples I would watch, because he was my first LA friend, and I would watch. I think I helped him count money one night. The couples shopping, because the promenade, for those of you who don't know, Santa Monica Promenade's 3rd Street. It's upscale shopping. It's like an outdoor mall with no roof. It's gorgeous. Everyone goes there. It's where you just go. And he would play, and people would stop shopping, and then just kind of hold each other like...
To listen to his heavenly hymns?
Yeah, just to listen to Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme. Yeah. And then they'd give him like $5 or $10, a $5 or $10 bill, and keep walking.
And he had CDs too, right?
He had
so you could buy CDs for $5 or something
10,
like that.
Yeah, and he would make hundreds every couple hours, hundreds. So he's like, man, you've got to do this. Now, my style, I was playing Pearl Jam covers and screaming in key, and I went out there, opened the guitar case, started playing, and those happy couples with all the money kept walking. The people who would stop were the homeless people and drunk people tripping out of bars. They'd come out there like, dude, Pearl Jam! And then they reach in their pocket and they're like, no, dude, this guy's awesome. And they're like, and they'd have like a quarter and a piece of lint and like a pizza coupon. And they put it in my case. They're like, sorry, man, sorry.
Hence why we were rationing popsicles.
Right. Yeah. So the reason why you would ever go down there and be a beggar is that because everyone the high scale shoppers were attracted to that place, you could be seen. And my buddy who had made all this money, he had Steve Perry from Journey come up to him and say, great job, here's my card, give me a call sometime. The real Christopher Cross actually caught him singing one of his songs. C.C. DeVille from Poison, one of the A&R guys from Columbia Records. And that was the whole reason of doing it. It was either that or go pay to play in a bar. Pay to play, which I'd never known what that was. When I was a kid, I heard of the Whiskey A Go-Go, the bar, the Roxy, the Troubadour. I had no idea that I could go down there tonight and play live, me, with the marquee. I just have to pay them for every seat in the house.
There's something quite predatory about that, isn't it? I mean, it's funny because they're the equivalent of that with actors. There were a lot of managers, and I fell prey to this in the very beginning too. Thank God I walked out of that office before I signed anything. But what they would do was they would say, look, you pay us a fee, you pay us a monthly fee, and then we'll make the phone calls for you. Mm. But you got to keep that money coming in. And they didn't pay for your headshots. That fee didn't go towards anything for your career. That's still entirely, that's up to you.
Yeah.
But you pay to sort of keep them by your side in case something did happen. And then they they claimed to make phone calls for you behind the scenes, but you never knew. There was never any evidence of it.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that. Like they knew that the bus, like the turnip truck, would pull up once a week,
Yeah.
and scores of people would spill out, and we were all so ignorant. We didn't know anything. Oh, you're going to help me get famous? Well, geez, look at all these headshots on the wall of your office. I mean, it didn't strike me as odd at the time that they were in North Hollywood in some rent-a-space, you know, in the back of some parking lot. I just saw the pictures on the wall, and the guy had a shirt and tie on. Sure, you know, $60 a month, take it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't because of it. I was out of the acting circle, but I was looking at the time. I think we probably got to get
Time for movie quotes.
Yeah, I think it's probably time. And I'm so excited. There's one quote in here that I've been waiting for weeks for you to hear. So I can't wait. I hope it's done.
Likewise, wouldn't it be funny if we had the same quote?
There's no way on earth you picked this one.
See, it's another obscure one that.
There's no way. There's just no way.
All right, let's just do this.
Okay. If I remember right, our last episode we tied.
We tied.
Yeah.
So I got to win this one.
Good. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, great John Candy.
Once again, gravitating towards our fallen heroes who are no longer with us.
That is one of mine.
Rest in peace,
Or
John.
One of mine is from a fallen hero. Here you go.
That is Ricardo Montalban
Yeah.
in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Oh, I love that movie.
I was gonna have her just go, "Caw!" And that was it, just one word. But I didn't know how she'd do it. So.
I'm surprised you didn't do, and like a poor marksman, you keep missing the target.
I had that one.
At some point, we got to have her do something by Shatner.
I know.
Right?
I know. The tie continues.
All right. 1-1 or 1-1, right? Yeah. Okay.
Weird Science. Bill Paxton. Holy cow.
I was going to just have her go, "Why your kitchen is blue?" But I had to do Paxton at least once.
That's a great movie to quote.
Yeah.
All right, this might be the one that I've just been waiting forever for you to hear. So
Okay.
I think this might be it.
All right. Look at her face. Unfortunately, I don't think I have any inclination as to what that. I don't think I have a greater inclination than she does.
Do you need to hear it again? Because there are a couple clues in it.
Is it possible to hear it one more time? I don't know if this is this galactic speak from Star Wars, or is this?
Oh, he gets half credit. You get half credit if that's your answer.
I get half.
You get half.
I mean, is it Jabba? Is it Return of the Jedi?
Yes!
Oh. Whew. Was that verbatim? Did you get it online, or did you watch the movie and spend an hour transcribing it?
How bad it is? You ready? I went online and I copied it and then I read it and I go, they're not correct. And I went
You actually corrected it?
I changed it because they had a few words wrong.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. Oh.
That was the language is Huttese. Yeah, I know that. I know the language. Yeah, Jawa the Hutt.
Okay.
Because she says Wookiee in it, and she says Chewbacca.
I heard the Ubaka, and I thought of Chewbacca. So all right. Whew. All right. Here comes yours.
Okay.
Mission accomplished. No, there are more men out there.
No, we
Yeah.
had this one.
Where they
Oh.
are.
That was a rerun. That was Rambo. Here it comes.
Every real Duran fan.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
That's sad to say is me from freshman year of college. The Duran Duran movie.
I put 2 with exclamation point. You know, I 2.
She would never say it like that.
At some point, if it's technically possible, I would love to start feeding in some of our old movies and some of our performances.
God, no.
Maybe not. All right. All right.
Please, God, no.
All right. All right. I guess our anonymity would be gone
Yeah.
if it isn't already.
Oh, God.
All right.
Wait, there's one more.
Is that it? One more.
One more.
Oh, sorry.
This is where I'm going to get you on the last one.
You're gonna get me?
I'm gonna get you.
Too obscure.
I see America drinking a fabulous cocktail one day. Americans are getting stinky on something I stir and shake. The Alabama
Slamma.
handmade drink so sweet and snazzy. The iced tea.
The kamikaze.
The Singapore sling.
The ding-a-ling.
America. They're devoted to every flavor I got. But if you want to get promoted, why don't
You just order a shot. Cocktail.
Yeah.
Great movie. Great movie.
A little long, sorry.
One of those at the time. It wasn't really cool to love Cocktail back in the day, but if it's on now, if it's on cable now, how can you turn it off?
I always watch it.
How can you turn it off? When he goes back to fight Elizabeth Shue's father and his bodyguard, I just love that scene.
I love that he has the check in his hand, and it's just a piece of paper, so it'd be very easy to tear. So it's like, how can I make tearing this check seem tougher than it is?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Gah." he gives it like a little extra.
It's got to really,
you know,
he's
like
got
a
to sell it,
little-
yeah.
Because otherwise, it's
It's just such a symbol of what his priorities are. You know, my
Right.
priorities are your daughter,
I thought-
not money.
I thought he was gonna do something, but it's just.
Yeah.
Well.
You think that maybe they might have tried like him eating it, like Tom, we're just gonna try something. Just put it in your mouth. Yep, like this.
do one for you, then one for us.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Light one on fire.
Tom, make it into a paper airplane. Does it?
Put it to an origami middle finger. Hold it back to him. I'm sorry. I just looked at the time. I think we're out of time again, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, these shows go by too fast.
Right when I'm laughing, so I broke out in a sweat. I was laughing so hard that you and your Chewbacca, Jabba the Hutt thing.
I wonder, the internet community might really appreciate the fact that you corrected it officially. You should go on there.
Oh no, because it was some fan site. I mean, I don't know. It was some like movie quote site, and so.
Are you excited about the new movies?
God, I can't wait.
It sounds like, the word is that J.J. Abrams, he's such a fanboy and he loves the original toy that he's recreating the sets authentically and he's not doing the whole digital universe thing.
Did you see Kevin Smith, how he described it?
Yes.
Kevin Smith saw the thing.
Yes.
Of course.
It's hard not to be giddy about the
But I've
early
gotten
word.
excited about all of them, so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to temper that enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, the butterflies are going to be there no matter what. I mean, it's dun, right? It's going to happen
And
no matter what.
because the original actors. Because when we were kids, we remember there was an interview he did with either Time or Rolling Stone or both, where he said there were 9 episodes.
Yeah.
So every little kid in my school thought after Return of the Jedi there'd be 3 more.
Yeah.
With the same actors.
Right.
So we're finally getting them.
It's almost a shame that they didn't do it 15 years ago when these actors were, I mean, they're not elderly, but at the time they were only middle-aged.
I know.
So if they can do it 15 years later, if the argument was that now they're a little past their prime then, it's not now. It's just a shame.
I know they're going to have to kill off the older folks, but I just hope they don't do it in the first one. In these first
Right.
Because if they kill them off, now you're saying we're so confident in the new people, they can carry 2 more of these.
Exactly. I mean, and you gotta, based on the mythology of the Star Wars universe, you'd think that probably Luke would die in
Like
the same
Obi-Wan.
manner as Yoda, same type of thing. He's probably going to be the mentor now, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Millennium Falcon. Harrison Ford thought that he should have died in Jedi. And originally, the Millennium Falcon was going to die in the Death Star. They weren't going to be spit out.
Yeah.
They were going to die in there, and he
Yeah.
thought that was better. And so did the writer, Lawrence Kasdan. It was Lucas who said, "No, we can't do that."
This is actually a good segue. Harrison Ford, one of the all-time famous ad-libbed lines. I would love to know if you've ever actually, because when Princess Leia said to him, "I love you,"
Yeah.
and he said, I know, before he got stuck in that,
Yeah.
that whatever. Was it copper? You would know. What's the metallic element on the element
Carbonite.
chart? Carbonite.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Carbonite.
Yeah. So and he says, I know. Have you ever said that to your wife? Has it ever popped out of you? Yeah.
Well, she likes Star Wars, but she wouldn't like it so much that she would get that reference. So
But you'd get it. So you'd say, I know. You'd be like,
But
like, it would make you feel good.
Yeah, but then I'm in the doghouse. Like I don't. It'd be funny if she'd be like, after that she made a Chewbacca growl.
Yeah.
And then I was like, high five. I got a
Yeah.
cool way. But I think she'd be like, what an arrogant. She'd have the reaction that Princess Leia had, like, what the heck.
You know what would be the greatest test ever to see if you found literally the girl of your dreams? If 5 or 10 years ago you'd been out to dinner, it's a first date, right? Everything's going pretty well. You get up, you excuse yourself, you go to the bathroom, you come back, and when you sit down, she says, "You want to order?" And you look up from the menu and say, I order something. And if she didn't leave screaming, that's the one.
That's a good test.
I saw a clip of Harrison Ford, and this is the last thing before we go.
Okay.
Speaking of actors and their fans, and actors, you sort of reach that elite level, and you're probably so far off the ground and you're so into the stratosphere that you forget about the fans, the people that adore you. And Harrison Ford never really wanted to be associated very much with the Star Wars films in the beginning. He always seemed to kind of take exception to it. And I remember seeing a clip of him walking out of a restaurant, and Harrison, and he goes, F you. And he just went into his car and left.
Did he really?
Yeah. Now, compare that to my buddy Brad, who was in San Francisco. This is probably 15 years ago. And it was after Dead Poets Society had come out. And he's walking down the street, and Robin Williams jogs by him. And Brad, right on his game, he turns around and says, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." And he said, Robin Williams, without a thought, no hesitation at all. He spun around, he looked at him, and he kind of gave him the captain sign and smiled, and then continued on his jog. And I thought that was so cool. We're going to miss him so much. Yeah. He's Americana.
Yeah, and I don't know a world without him. I mean, Mork and Mindy we were like 5.
I know.
So I don't know what it's like to not have him having an artistic contribution.
He transcended generations. I mean, for our parents, it was Mork and Mindy. For us, it was Dead Poets Society and Good Will Hunting. For people younger than us, it's Flubber and Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, he literally spans generations. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing the drive again, man. I
really
appreciate it.
I can't wait to see these episodes.
Yeah, me too.
I think you're gonna have fun talking to Brad and Shaw and Serena and all those folks.
I think so too. Maybe we'll Skype you in.
That'd be great.
All right.
That'd be great. Thanks, pal. Right back at you. I know.
See you next time.
I know. I should have said I know. That was my moment. That was my moment.
Would have been the greatest ending of all time.
Oh.
Good job, bud.
Thanks, man. You too. We were both so tired. I wasn't sure we were gonna make it. Now we got to go online and kind of tell people about, because you posted it on your Facebook and on the movie nerd Facebook.
Yeah.
And, I kind of privately emailed people.
You did.
I'd love to see it go higher than the other one.
I said that Jim said that sometimes there's like a sophomore slump.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get excited about the first one or whatever, and so I don't know. We'll see, but